The morning sunlight filtered through the cracked windows of Hillcrest Elementary like golden mist, catching the dust particles that danced lazily in the air. It was the first Monday after winter break. Most students had returned to school groggy and sun-starved, dragging their feet across hallways still half-covered in leftover tinsel. But something was different that day in room 209. Something that couldn't be seen, but could be felt. A stillness. A wait. Officer Daniels, a seasoned K-9 handler with more than a decade of field experience, stood near the school's entrance that morning, holding the leash of his most trusted partner Rex, a 5-year-old German Shepherd from the department's elite K-9 unit. They were there as part of a new safety initiative started by the district, where officers and their dogs would visit classrooms and offer security training to help ease anxiety after a recent string of alarming break-ins. For Rex, this was just another day on duty. But what neither Rex nor Daniels knew was that this would be the day everything would change. Room 209 was filled with the usual hum of morning activity. Backpacks unzipped, chairs scraped the floor, and sleepy children exchanged groans about homework. The substitute teacher, Mr. Carter, had arrived 10 minutes early and was now writing something on the board, his back to the class. He was new. The real teacher, Mrs. Bellamy, was on medical leave after a fall. No one knew much about Carter, except that he spoke softly and dressed sharply in a tailored navy blue suit that didn't quite match the scuffed shoes he wore. As Officer Daniels pushed open the door and stepped in with Rex, he greeted the class with a warm smile. But before he could even utter a full sentence, Rex stiffened. His ears perked, tail still. Then, without warning, he growled. A low, guttural growl that cut through the classroom chatter like a razor. Daniels looked down in confusion. Rex had never reacted like this before, not during school visits, not even during high-tension field operations. He tried a soft command. Heel, Rex. But the dog didn't respond. Instead, Rex's gaze locked like a sniper sighting a target on Mr. Carter. In a flash, Rex broke command, jumped onto the teacher's desk, and began barking. Loud. Unrelenting. Furious. The classroom plunged into chaos. Children screamed. Some ducked under their desks. Carter raised his hands in shock and stumbled backward, knocking a chair over. Daniels rushed forward, trying to rein in his partner, but Rex wouldn't stop. His bark wasn't aggressive, it was desperate. Urgent. As if warning everyone, he doesn't belong here. The principal was called in. The school resource officer followed. Carter was confused, sweating, claiming innocence, but Rex wouldn't stop barking until Daniels stepped between them. Finally, after several tense minutes, Rex leapt off the desk and darted toward Carter's duffel bag near the whiteboard. He scratched furiously at the fabric, his nose working overtime. Daniels pulled the bag away and slowly unzipped it. What he found inside changed everything. There, wrapped in a towel, was an unregistered Glock. Alongside it were fake ID documents, a burner phone, and several printed school maps, one of them with certain classrooms marked in red. The man claiming to be Mr. Carter wasn't a substitute at all. He was later identified as Vincent Rourke, a fugitive from a neighboring state wanted for armed robbery and suspected in multiple unsolved disappearances. Somehow, he'd infiltrated the school system using forged paperwork, bypassing the district's thin security protocols. Rex had caught what no human eye or background check could see. Instinct, scent, energy, whatever it was, he had known. Carter was arrested on the spot. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, that was just the beginning. Among the 23 students in that classroom was a boy named Ethan, a quiet, withdrawn 11-year-old who barely spoke to anyone. Teachers had assumed he was shy, possibly neurodivergent. But the truth was darker. Ethan had been through 4 foster homes in 3 years, each one worse than the last. He had learned not to trust adults. He had learned to be invisible. But as the classroom cleared that day, Ethan remained behind. He stood there, backpack clutched tightly, eyes fixed on Rex. Daniels noticed him and knelt down. "You okay, buddy?" Ethan didn't respond. Instead, he walked slowly toward Rex, dropped to his knees, and wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. Rex didn't flinch. He just rested his head on Ethan's shoulder. That single moment, silent, wordless, was more powerful than any siren, any arrest, any press conference. In the days that followed, Ethan started showing up earlier to school. Not for classes, but to wait by the front steps where Rex and Daniels would arrive. Daniels took notice. And one morning, he asked Ethan, "Want to help me train Rex?" Ethan's eyes lit up. So began a new ritual. Every morning at 6:30 a.m., Ethan would meet Officer Daniels and Rex in the empty schoolyard. They started small, simple fetch games, then scent tracking drills. Ethan proved to be a natural. He understood Rex in a way no one else could. Weeks passed. Ethan began talking again, softly at first, then more confidently. He laughed. He told stories. He made friends. And then one day, he said something Daniels would never forget. "I want to become a K-9 officer. Like you. Like Rex." Daniels choked back tears. No teacher, no foster parent, no therapist had ever heard Ethan express a dream. But a dog had unlocked it. With Principal Hale's support, Daniels began a junior K-9 mentorship program at the school. Other kids who had struggled, those with anxiety, trauma, or behavior issues, were allowed to interact with Rex during lunch or recess. The transformation was undeniable. Grades improved. Fights decreased. Kids began to feel safe. And through it all, Rex remained their guardian. The media picked up the story. Interviews, awards, even a short documentary. But none of it mattered to Ethan. What mattered was Rex, and the feeling that for once in his life, he wasn't just surviving. He was belonging. But fate wasn't finished. 6 months later, during a routine visit to a nearby school, Rex stopped in the hallway and froze. He sniffed the air and pulled Daniels toward the nurse's office. Inside was a man claiming to be a delivery technician, but his badge was fake. Daniels confronted him, and after a tense scuffle, the man was arrested. He was part of a larger ring trafficking opioids disguised as school medication supplies. Again, Rex had sensed it. Rex was now more than a K-9 officer. He was a legend. But legends come with time, and time, sadly, is cruel. A year after the original incident, Rex was diagnosed with degenerative myelopathy, a terminal disease affecting the spinal cord. The department offered to retire him early. Daniels was devastated. Ethan cried for days. But before Rex's final days, something beautiful happened. At a school assembly filled with students, teachers, officers, and parents, Principal Hale stepped onto the stage with a surprise. Ethan, now a confident 7th grader, was awarded the very first Junior Service Medal of Bravery in district history. He walked on stage, stood beside Officer Daniels, and placed the same medal Rex once wore around his own neck. And then, in front of the entire school, Ethan whispered, "Thank you for saving me. I hope I made you proud." Rex wagged his tail, weak but still proud. Rex passed away 3 weeks later, surrounded by love. His collar now hangs in room 209, framed beneath a plaque that reads, "For the dog who barked so the children could be heard." Ethan still volunteers at the precinct. He trains young K-9 pups and tells them stories about his best friend. One day, he says, he'll wear the badge for real. And when he does, he knows Rex will be watching. If this story touched your heart, if you believe animals have a purpose far beyond what we see, please like, share, and comment on this video. And don't forget to subscribe to Positive Tales to keep these powerful stories alive and spreading hope across the world. Special request to comment. Have you ever had a dog sense something you didn't? Did an animal ever change your life? Share your story in the comments, we may feature it in our next video.